I want to talk about how race works in the fifth season. Race and racism are very important concepts to Jemison. They're central to her work and her thought about power and social inequity, which is all through this novel. But it's not exactly what she gains by, but it's not exactly our racial mix. The world of the stillness, the world of the fifth season, doesn't have our particular racial hierarchy because, as I said in the intro video, it's too far in the future. That the racial hierarchy has been scrambled. This allows this allows Jemison, like other science fiction writers, to talk about race without getting locked into our pre-existing associations about our own racial system, our own ideas about race, any kind of inherent stuff. It's just a different selection. I would point out, first of all, um, there are no more, geography has been totally transformed in the fifth season. Look at that map, and you can't see any of our Earth locations. Where are the Europeans? There ain't no Europe. There's no Europe, there's no America or North or South. There's no Africa, though. I think the lower part of the stillness sometimes to me looks like the lower half of the African continent. Make of that what you will. Maybe Jemison's cunning, subtle plan, maybe your professor's insistent delusions. Who knows? The racial hierarchy of the stillness, the post-Sanzed Empire, who are the Sanzids? People who will be in charge way down the line, much later than us. Makes there's the racial ideal here is neither black nor white, but a kind of bronze skin, tall, good pecs, bronze skin, the ash blow hair. So it's not the flat hair, it's not African hair per se, but it is puffy and big and a particular kind of gray. All right. They are the ideal, and everybody else deviates from that. There are a few characters, generally minor characters, who are pretty much white, but they don't have any place in the racial hierarchy the way white people do now. They're also relatively undesirable because they're not Sanzed. Some people are much darker. Alabaster is described as so dark, he's so black, he's almost blue. He's extremely dark, and we have comments about his hair. He probably looks like someone from the African diaspora. He probably looks African, not for nothing. Alabaster is the kind of most dominant intellectual character in the novel. The smartest one is the black one. And we could say clearly Essun is a woman of color. She has darker skin somewhere that might plausibly put her in the American context of like a color for some African American skin, but might make her simply brown somewhere on that. She doesn't, certainly, she is not white by 21st century American standards. She is also not the right color for the stillness. She's not the preferred color, though she's not really getting a lot of flack for her skin color. She has other problems. She has a kind of broader body type, not the fashionable North American skinny model body type, not at all. So she looks very different, and we're invited to imagine her as our hero. That's it. You know, she's a brown woman. She's middle aged. She's 42 when the fifth season starts. She's had children. She has big hips and big breasts, and and is not svelte. All of this is there. She is neither the preferred racial body type of her world or of ours, but she's also not particularly persecuted by that. Obviously, Jemison is most interested in talking about persecution or racism in terms of the origins or the ragas, the derogatory term. Sounds like another derogatory term we use. It's right out there for you. If you didn't see that before this video, you could have. You really could have. You didn't really need me for that one. And the kind of use of how, like, look at how Alabaster uses the word raga selectively as a way of taking the sting out of it sometimes. The This is a way of talking about the thing about the origins is that they are slaves. That unless they are they are slaves, they are subject to lynching. Are they black? Some of these characters are black. What pulls all the orgies together is the fact they're slaves and they're lynchable. That there is kind of hysterical persecution of them. Um, if you don't think they're slaves, and Alabaster uses the word very late in the novel, look at the first cyanide chapter. Look at chapter 4, where she is being bred selectively, and that she has to go along. Didn't have to, but she has to. And Alabaster doesn't have to go along, right? Where they're being bred. They are totally unfree. Um, and there's the illusion that they get like that they get their rings as they get better trained, and there's the illusion they get more and more privileges, but they're simply more and more privileged slaves. Um, those outside the fulcrum, outside that training, without the imperial uniform, those who are not tamed and licensed, even those people are tamed and who are tamed and licensed, who are imperial servants, are treated abominably. They show up. They show up to get rid of a coral reef, and like the town, the city parent, the leaders of the city are like terrible to them because of the bigotry. The bigotry is so much that someone might kill his own child for finding out that they have raga blood. Um, going back to a kind of panic in American culture, white American culture, about finding out, oh, there's African American blood in the family. Disaster! This is the kind of thing that makes H.P. Lovecraft's head explode with fear. The only thing he fears more than weird reptilian squid-like elder gods is finding out that there are African Americans in their family. He's so afraid of it. It's probably true. They are clearly modeled on the experience of American slavery and African American persecution is clearly behind the treatment of the Origines. Those are those who are outside the kind of licensed, leashed, black uniformed existence are subject to being lynched anywhere, even though the people who could save you. Note, at the beginning of this novel, Esson is in danger because she stopped an earthquake. Now, as by chapter 3 she's made clear, Origines, when they get angry or if they're badly trained, are very dangerous because they can start earthquakes, because they're dangerous, there's a fear of them, but they're also crucial to everyone's survival. And here, Jemison is working on thinking lately about the history of America and how central African American labor has been to the creation of American wealth. How much the despised minority in our historical culture has produced so much of the economic value on which the society is built. The world of the fifth season is a world that enslaves the Origines, but is fundamentally dependent on them for everything, for wealth, for survival, who needs them, who takes advantage of their labor and despises them for it. If that seems something strange and that could only happen in science fiction, I think Jemison's position is no. She's using science fiction to talk about something that we know exists in our world.